Do you remember those old westerns? You know, the ones with a gunslinger out on a quest for revenge, out in the Wild West. Saloons, talking pigmen, undead corpse-eating sirens. No? No, me neither. Until now. Weird West Definitive Edition is an action RPG-ish, currently free from Prime Gaming via the Epic Games Store until the 4th of September 2024. And it's weird, in a good way, at least I think so. It's nominally an action RPG, but it doesn't quite fit that. It doesn't do things a normal RPG way. It looks a little bit different too. It has a distinctive cel-shaded style in a 3D isometric environment that manages to look stylish as well as relatively detailed. The world is clear enough to make out poker chips on tables, for example. You got light sources that cast their glow out realistically with shadows around that little island of light. It looks good. Most of the locations you visit are basically in the desert, so there's an element of sandy colouredness that doesn't always show the graphics off to their full potential. There's temples and mines and other little areas that do show it off a little bit more successfully. As I was writing this, I will look back on my game footage to check what the sound was like, because I don't remember there being a whole lot, and there isn't. Major cutscenes are scored and voice acted, but for the majority of my playthrough I only heard sound effects, which is a little bit of a shame as I think the soundtrack would have added to the experience. Sound effects are fine, I don't remember them, but listening to them back they were fine. Far more memorable though is the world. This is an alternative Wild West filled with magic and mythical creatures. We're introduced to it via a series of stories, 5 of them in fact, each with a different main character that we can take control of, one after the other. Fear not though, progress that you make on one character isn't entirely wasted once you've finished their story, as they will then be available to add to your 3-person party when playing with subsequent characters, along with all their gear. You don't get to control them, sadly. You only control that one character whose story is at a time. The rest of your party acts on their own initiative. Along with that comes the standard list of frustrations that entails. And it's made worse because there is friendly fire in this game. A number of times my companions jumped in front of my shot. I started to think they just didn't want to be in the game anymore. You aren't limited to past main characters to make up your party though. You'll find plenty of people that will join you, either to help out, return a favour, or because you paid them. And you'll probably be less bothered if they die, because characters can die, and if they do, that's it, they're gone. We have a central quest for each character that will take us to a certain section of the map, though you're free to travel anywhere on the map, wherever you want to, and you uncover places of interest as you do. It's basically an open world, really, and there's plenty of side quests as well. As far as I've been able to tell, there's no level restrictions to any area, because this isn't quite an RPG. You don't have a level. The RPG element, the customization, comes in the form of perks, abilities and the gear that you find. Although it's not quite as straightforward as that, almost. Perks and weapon abilities are shared between characters, but each character has 4 unique abilities. You pick up playing cards to increase the perks, and something called nymph relics to increase abilities. But an odd quirk to the system is that the cards and relics are not shared between characters, even though the perks and abilities that they buy mostly are. Not sure why that was implemented. It means that you have to use or lose whatever you've gathered on a character's story before you finish it, which makes saving up for the higher tiers a bit of a pain. I often found myself 1 card short of the upgrade I really wanted. The game features a stealth system that's pretty familiar. Standard vision cones on your enemies that let you judge when you can sneak up behind them and knock them out. A careful approach that takes its time can get you into an enemy encampment without harm. Although for me that was in addition to quite a lot of save scumming, which is actually recommended by the game. If you want to though, you can just go in all guns blazing. Now I always go for the sneaky approach, so I didn't invest in the fighting skills that much. There were times that you have to use it, because not every situation allows for stealth. I struggled a bit with the combat at first. I was failing to line shots up at rapidly moving targets, but once I found the slow motion dodge action, things become so much easier. I couldn't always tell if my shot was going to be blocked in the heat of battle. As I said, things move around quickly, so I still had some issues with combat, though nothing that harmed my enjoyment too much. The stealth system also has its issues. I've picked up an item rather than knock someone out a bit too often, despite there not being a pick up item prompt. That also encouraged me to use the quick save function after every takedown, because you don't know when the game's going to get in the way as opposed to just you making a mistake. Sometimes the takedown just didn't work for no apparent reason. Save scumming is the way to go. Overall though, it's decent. It allows you to pick up and move bodies to prevent remaining enemies going on alert when discovering unconscious companions. Patrol routes are mostly predictable but not entirely so, which adds that element of danger to sneaking around. I've seen patrolling NPCs get stuck running into each other a few times. A bug that, whilst it was kind of funny, was actually a bit of a pain because it meant there was a 360-degree vision cone right in the middle of the room I needed to go into. What I did find strange about the save scumming thing is that the locations of the NPCs completely change when you reload a saved game. One system that I thought was pretty underdeveloped though was the loot, or at least as far as my 12 hours of play has taught me. I've just started the third out of the 5 stories. There's 5 weapon types in the game. You got a revolver, shotgun, rifle, bow and a melee weapon. You have 1 item of armour and 2 amulet slots. Each weapon has values for damage, range, attack rate and for the gun's magazine size. And we have the standard RPG rarities: green, blue, purple. That increases these base values. Some gear does trade off one of those values for another, but so far it's really uninspired. I've not seen any items that have any other effects, and the higher rarities don't give you that either. An armour might increase an elemental resistance or just increase the base protection it provides, but the only close to interesting loot beyond number go up are the amulets, that do have effects like healing on crits or more damage depending on your reputation. It's hardly Diablo levels of loot though. You can upgrade weapons and armour using different types of ore and pelts that you can mine or skin from animals, though it's expensive enough that I'm waiting on getting the best gear before I dive in, and even then, I'm not expecting anything except a bit higher numbers. The rest of your loot is going to be thrown weapons like dynamite, bandages and cooked food to heal, uncooked food or junk, and not much more besides that. So much of the junk is worth so little that I dropped it if I had no inventory space left between my 3 characters and my horse. And surprisingly, I still frequently ran out. What does stand out more than anything else is the story and the world and how they interweave. As I've progressed through the various quests and side quests, I've been presented with plenty of options. Picking up an optional bounty, for example, to get a bit more money, gives me the choice of bringing the outlaw in, dead or alive. If I go for alive and stealth my way to them, I leave the location littered with unconscious guards, who, if I then return to that location later, will still be there. If I decided to go in all guns blazing and I return, new occupants have moved in. Freeing a prisoner made them a friend of mine for life, and I've had someone turn up in a fight to help me out because of that. If you do someone dirty, they've just become your latest nemesis. I'll let you know if mine comes back to haunt me. It was dead already, so it would have to haunt me. This is a central part of the game as far as I can tell. Enough that you're actually given a report of your actions when you finish a character's story, and the inter-story cutscenes discuss what you did. It's great. It made me feel part of an actual functioning world that I have an impact on, and part of the story too. Felt like I was guiding where it went. The narrative is a collection of bizarre but very interesting stories that I will want to find out what happens, so I will carry on playing this after I've done the review. I really want to see how my actions and my choices affect the end result. I'm really enjoying this game. I mean, I like games with stealth mechanics more than ARPG combat, and that's probably the better part of this game. Well, that and the consequential decisions that I'm making, and the imaginative story and world that the developers have created. If you're in the mood for a stealth-based ARPG game with a strong story, I recommend this, despite the bugs and the not quite as good combat. Okay, that's enough weirdness for me. I'm off. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.